Exactly.
Yep.
Am I actually the only one on video?
You are.
Okay. Well, heck, well, how about if I don't go on video too, and then we'll just have one big blank screen.
I would turn on my video, but I don't have my makeup on right now, Tom.
Yeah, me neither. And I haven't done my hair, Nanette.
I haven't done that either, so no.
This meeting is being recorded. There's Chad. Got video, but no audio.
No makeup here either. So
there's Chad.
It was slow going last week too. Like I think a little after 10 before the meet of the people showed up. I thought I had the wrong link last week.
They'll show up. What you got, Tom?
You want me to start?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to get started. Okay, so I don't know. It kind of snuck up on me here. I did write down a few different things. So I don't, I've mentioned this before. I kind of like listening to Brian Buffini's podcast. And in the middle of the year, he always, twice a year, he does what he calls bold predictions. And he kind of goes over the real estate market. Nothing super enlightening. He does compare this year so far to 2019. So when he lines up all the stats of home sales and everything, it lines up really good with 2019. I was not in business in 2019, so I can't speak to that. A lot of the market, he addresses a lot about what we, if you listen to the media or you talk to some people or the reels on your phone, I seem to get a lot of that. The sky is falling stuff. It's now a buyer's market. Foreclosures are up. All of that stuff we don't want to hear, which is actually far from the truth. That's not actually what the case is. So, but he did do a very interesting thing. He showed a U.S. map and he showed the areas where it would actually be a buyer's market. And the buyer's markets are the areas where the prices went up really fast and really high in those type of markets, like Florida and in Arizona and some of those other markets. Some of those areas have now become buyer's markets. People fled, the upper East Coast, New York, New Jersey for Florida during COVID, and then they got down to Florida, and I guess they hadn't heard of hurricanes, right? So now everybody's looking to get out, right? So kind of a buyer's market down there. He did show the Midwest. In the Midwest, we definitely is still a seller's market, and he had two of the yellow dots, which indicated seller's market, and they were right over Kansas City and St. Louis. So kind of felt like we were there. Just kind of my own little observation of what the year kind of looks like in my own experience. We got pockets that are definitely a seller's market. We have them in Raymore, and we have them in Lee Summit, and we have them in Belton. I feel that we still end up with properties. I had one of my own flips that I was I was able to totally control the conversation on it because I had so many people that wanted it, right? So I had just a few that have flown off the shelf. On the other side of that, and Buffini talks about this too, is that the sellers who still think this is a 2023 market or a 22 market or a 21 market and are still trying to go for the sky and not bring their houses even up to that level, those houses are sitting on the market and those people end up taking less overall. Um, so I think the big lesson that I'm getting out of that and that I'm really trying to learn this from is because I took that overpriced I took two overpriced listings, right? Right at the same time, right? And it was horrible, and it's been horrible. One I finally got sold.
Uh-oh.
Frozen.
I froze out.
You're good
Oh.
now.
I'm good now. Okay. So anyway, so uh yeah, so my last two listing appointments, I went in and was like, I don't care if I get this listing. If they're going to want to overprice it, I don't want it. And just having that little bit of that attitude and having that I want to say confidence in my price going in is this I feel like this is where we really need to be to make this happen and to achieve your goals, and really pushing back hard when they don't want to, and almost to the point like, hey, if you want to go there, I'm probably not your guy, because I'm here to make sure you get the most money that you can, and I feel the route that you want to take is not going to get you there. So, and it's worked both times. It's like, yeah, whatever you want to do, Tom, let's do it. So, I guess it's those bad experiences that are going to make me a better agent, right? Those overpriced listings I took that make my stomach hurt. Yeah, they're going to make me better in the future. So, anyway, anybody else struggling with a overpriced listing? What to do out there? Any suggestions on uh how to get people? I mean, because we can show them sometimes the data all day long, but their house is always different, right? Yeah, but this house, yeah, I understand that was my neighbor's house, but this house isn't that house, Tom. This is different. It's my house, right? So anybody got anything to chime in on that? Yeah, gonna leave me hanging?
I won't leave you hanging.
Thank you.
Yeah, by the way, almost everybody on this call has one or has had one. So, yeah, it's just it's it's where we're at in the cycle, and things are a little more difficult. You're going to have some listings that'll listen to you and some that won't. And the ones that won't, you have to know you're in for that, slow death march. But again, they set that in motion. You allow them to set that in motion. So if you see a path to eventually let the market do the heavy lifting and get them into the kill zone, that's a listing worth having. If the people are unreasonable, and Dalton and I dealt with this lady that was that way, then there's no real purpose of taking the listing. Let somebody else struggle with that. But most of the ones I take that I feel like are a little top heavy, I really feel like the people are motivated enough to listen to me over time. And that time might be 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, but eventually they'll say, okay, you were right after all. So you have to gauge their overall motivation.
So I have one right now, Tom. 4749 Gull Point in Raintree. I've been dealing with these people for 3 years. And when I took them on and had the conversation, they were all on board with everything I was saying. Then when we get into it, then they're like, I want to raise the price. We're going to remodel. It's just been an ongoing nightmare. I'm dealing with several different children. When we started this process, the mother was alive, and now the mother is not alive. So it's, I'm getting there. Some days I want to throw in the towel and fire them and say, I'm done with you. And then I think, I don't want to take a zero. I've got too much time in this. I don't want to take a zero. And I know they have to sell it eventually. So they have to sell it. I know I will get something at the end of this process, but it has been brutal. And sometimes we don't have the control over, like I said, when I first started doing this, everybody was on board with everything that I said. And then as more and more children put their opinions in there, it all escalated and it was out of control and out of my hands.
Yep. Yeah.
but it's sitting because they have it overpriced and it's just sitting empty.
So is this home, where has the seller gone to?
Well, she built a new home over in Kansas, moved into this new home, a little ranch. She downsized a ton. And since then, she passed away. So now I'm dealing just with the children.
How long has it been on the market?
A long time. I'm telling you, a long time. I don't even know. It's been so long, I don't even know.
Now, Nanette, the active time on the market, how long has it been?
Since June.
So, so the kids are in, so the original seller died and now the home was inherited by the children.
It's always been in a trust, and
Okay.
I've had two children that are the decision makers.
Okay.
But now that the mother has died, we have all these other children speaking into the two decision makers, and now they're not
Yeah.
listening.
Huh. And
And
so
one
what is
decision
the
maker wants one way, and another decision maker wants another way. So
Yeah, sounds like they need to push the easy button. Have them give me a call. I can I can tell you the easy button works really well in those situations. I've had it work pretty well in a couple of situations on inherited homes. And I'll tell you that, I've had a conversation just the other day. It was like, hey, Tom, yeah, you say if I put it on the market, I can get another 30 grand, but there's four of us. That's, 7,000 and some odd dollars a piece, and we're not getting along already. Let's just push the easy button and do it, right? So whenever you kind of get in those situations, and typically there's almost always a situation where when there's multiple children involved, you have one or two that's doing most of the work, and the ones that are doing none of the work are the ones that are advising and doing all of this. And typically people get worn down, and you give them an easy button option, it looks pretty appealing. So but which would come into another conversation. So I have a couple listings, and these are inherited homes that they didn't push the easy button. And so the one um, was my Raintree listing, and they inherited the home, and it was in probate. And actually, by the way, I just found out I referred a probate attorney to them. I didn't. They kind of ghosted me for a while, so I didn't know if they did it. And they actually used Carrie Morgan next door at Collins. So I had actually took a picture of her card and sent that to them, and she ended up using them for probate. And they got it through probate. And then one of the sellers owned property. He lives in Idaho and still owns property here in the metro area. And he had a handyman who was going to do this, this, and this. But my original conversation with them was, hey, Tom, should we do some work to it or should we sell it as is? Well, I looked at the overall scope of the project. He had a handyman. He seemed like he was able to get it some done. Definitely, it had a swimming pool that we wanted to get open. And so I said, hey, man, if you can get a nice paint in here, get a few things fixed here and there doing this, I think it would be well worth it. We'll put some new carpet in here and you'll probably get a return on that investment. Well, then the handyman goes in and does like the worst freaking paint job you've ever seen, right? I walk in one day, I said, you're going to put on another coat? He goes, I already got on 3. And it's like, well, you need 6 then because it's so bad, right? Then he blamed it on the seller for buying cheap paint, all that stuff. At the end of the day, I had a product that wasn't much better than the product that we started with, right? So which I go to this other listing appointment, and it's 4 grandkids. A grandma, dad died, grandma moved to John Knox Village, and it's like, well, Tom, what do you think? Should we? And first of all, I've been working with them for a long time now, and they're barely getting anything done. And then it was like, hey, should we sell it as is, or should we come in and do this, this, and this? And I had to really think hard, right? Because last time somebody told me they were going to do this, this, and this, they didn't do it. And we wasted a bunch of time and maybe a little bit of money, right? So it's like, nah, let's just sell it as is. I don't know. So, sometimes I everybody thinks our job's easy, but we're giving advice to people that actually can determine an outcome, right? Sometimes it's negligatory. Sometimes, hey, we could do the work and get a little more money or not. But I just I guess the point I'm trying to make is I'm finding in situations where it's an inherited home, most of those people, in my opinion, probably need to sell as is and not try to do any work because it just takes forever to get done, time on the market. I would like to hear if anybody else has any opinions on that. Nathan?
I mean, every situation is so different. If you are you end up taking on a GC role, which I know you've done before, but if they're using contractors that you recommend that go in and get things done, then I've seen that be very successful. But if you got a whole bunch of people trying to make decisions, it can get messy really fast. So every situation's different.
Exactly.
But if you're getting the gut feeling of this is going to be a disaster, there's ways to frame those conversations to, let them know, hey, you're gonna for sure be spending a dollar, and you might only get 90 cents back. You're kind of working the wrong way, and it's going to take time, and the juice is running on taxes, insurance, utilities. Let's just see what the as is offer looks like, and we can get bids for these other things, and you can determine from there. But it's not a hard no, but you can kind of guide them down that path, if that makes sense. So
One of the
And I
things
know,
that,
go ahead.
am I on?
You are.
This thing work? One of the things that I look at in a lot of the houses that aren't too bad, short of a full remodel, the rental for the last 12 years, and they just tore the shit out of it. Pardon my language. I try to point out to the sellers that the biggest bang for the buck is to bring a house up to where it can sell USDA, FHA, and VA. If that's just some paint and a broken window, it can make a big difference to just go ahead and do a lot of that small stuff. My house on Grabe and Peculiar that's coming next week, that's all he wants to do is just enough stuff to make it, after I explain to him how a lot of buyers are going to be VA, FHA, and USDA out there, and that'll bring more money than just your plain conventional cash investor. So it's kind of one of the things I explain to everyone when I'm walking through and try to point out, just not eliminating that pool of buyers.
Yeah. That's a really good point. So I always got to consider that on a flip. If I get a flip ready too fast, then I eliminate the FHA and VA buyers on it, right? If I get it ready to go in 60 days, because I can't turn it over for 90.
that's not true on VA, Tom.
You're
USD,
on VA, it's not true?
yeah, it's just FHA that has a 90 days of title seasoning.
Ah, I think I did know that. All right, good. I'm glad you're on here, Nate, because I'm going to put you on the spot again for something. So, and this is going to go down the investment club route a little bit. And this is in regards to flipping a house. So if I purchase a home, and I'm just going to use, for instance, the one I just did. So we just did one over on Lakeview. I got that sucker ready in 3 weeks. The problem is there's a little thing called notice of intent to sell, right? So, which in theory makes me wait how long, Nathan? 60 days?
There's a window, 45 up front and 90 is on the backside. So the notice of intent to sell has to be recorded, and you can't close for 45 days. And then if it goes past 90, you have to do another notice of intended sale.
Okay. Okay. So it's 45. Okay. Very good.
Mhm.
Okay. So, but on the notice of intent to sell, that is only in regards to if I buy the house and I do absolutely nothing to it and I turn around and sell it, do I still have to do that? Because I don't have anybody. I didn't do any work, right?
No, it's an announcement to protect the title company and any contractors from mechanics liens.
Right. But, and again, in the case that I just bought it and didn't do anything, do I have to wait? No. Okay. And if I buy it and I do all the work myself, do I have to file that notice?
Technically, no. You'd have to
Okay.
you would need to find a way to prove that you did the work yourself, if you will, providing all your receipts for any materials purchased, so on and so forth.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So, well, that was it. I kind of like on this one, I got it done quick and I was able to provide Kofelt with my invoices, and she said she'd let it slide this one time, but don't expect to do it that way every time. So anyway, so good. Very good. So what do we got, folks? Anything? So I took a page out of Trisha's book too on this other house. Again, I've been waiting forever for them to get it empty, and they're not. And because it's grandma stuff, and I'm finding that when I work with people, it's a lot easier for me to throw away grandma stuff than it is for them to throw away grandma stuff then, right? So I ended up going over there and it's like, you guys want me to get rid of this stuff for you? I will. I'll get it. I'll go get it all donated to you. I'll do whatever. Basically, I did take on, I probably took on more work than I wanted to, but I felt like it was, I was going to get the listing. I bumped up my admin fee a little bit to cover, some of the extra work. And yeah, I've been working my butt off over there. I've already got 4 truckloads of stuff. I took 3 truckloads to Red Racks yesterday in Lee Summit. I've taken 2 to the Carpet for Less dumpster. Uh, nice little perk I have. And I probably got 5 more. But you know what? It's going to go live next Friday. And if I don't do this, it may not, I don't know when it was going to go live. So while I've been waiting to go live, the basement is flooded because of a washing machine thing break, and the furnace is broke, right? So they started on this last fall. If they would have went through with the project, and now guess what they call the house? A money pit. Yeah. That's why we want to get them on the market as soon as possible. So anyway, so yeah. So sometimes I feel, yeah, I'm just going to talk because I feel like I'm getting, anyway. Now, sometimes and I got to, so I come home and Carrie says, so are you going to get paid for doing all that? Yeah, I am. 3%, a little bit of a thing, and we're going to get it done. Right. And then guess what? These people, these kids, these 4 grandkids now, it's like they're all in their 30s and 40s. They're all going to be homeowners. Right. Yeah. So let's make it easy on everybody so they remember that who to call next time they need real estate. All right. All right. So, well, Todd says interest rates are going down.
About time.
So Lonnie, are we ever going to see this big boom that we've been talking about over the last couple of years if interest rates go down? Is that
Sure
still
feels,
in play?
yeah. I mean, we've there's pent up demand, and in the Midwest we're holding our chin up anyway. But at the end of the day, the people are going to run out of excuses on why not to buy or why not to trade up or trade down their house. And the gap of their current rate versus the proposed for the existing people, and then the affordability for the people on the first time home buyers and those folks, those are the 2 excuses that are valid. And every time rates come down, as they inch lower, more and more people can work with that objection. So even 50 basis points. I mean, you get something with a 5 handle where we consistently have government loans at 5.5 to 6. I think at that point, forget the old days of 3 anyway. we'll probably never see them again. But I think if it's got a 5 handle, it's game on.
So do you think when they actually announce the rate cut, the Fed's announced the cut, do you think we'll, I mean, I always feel like from listening to Todd and everything that the market's always kind of ahead of the announcement. So do you think we'll see our mortgage rates go down anymore? Let's just say if they cut it a quarter, do you think, or do you think they've already factored that in?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably for the most part, it's factored in. On any given day, there's a probability of Fed reduction of rates for the next upcoming meeting. And for this next meeting, I think right now it sits around 90% chance of a quarter point. So the market is kind of priced that in, but there's a chance they won't. So when they do it, a lot of times we'll see some positive movement, but it's not super significant because 90% of it was already priced in, if that makes any sense.
Right.
It's the surprise moves where they don't move at all when everybody's priced that in, that we can see things move against us. They go more aggressively than what the market was expecting. You can see rates move quickly. But at the end of the day, every hour of every business day, the market is betting on the next Fed move, higher, lower, and the amount. So, that's a long answer to your question, but it's not a simple yes or no answer by any means.
Would you say that a lot of people just look at the news and they get their,
Sure.
They don't listen to experts necessarily. They listen to the people on the news stations and the news sources. But so they hear that the Fed has dropped a quarter or a half, all of a sudden they're interested, so that would you say that's a dynamic that we need to pay attention to as well?
As much as anything is the mindset of the consumer. The truth be known, what doesn't happen is if Todd's quoting 6.5 on a 30-year loan conventional, and the Fed does take action next week or whenever, and it goes down a quarter, that is not all of a sudden 6.25. That seldom works that way. But the mindset of the news, again, the news drives everything. They'll be talking about Fed lowering rates, and that gets in the consumer's mindset and the probability of it happening possibly a second time in 2025. Those are the things that kind of get us rolling in the right direction.
I knew one of the other things that Buffini mentioned in his bold predictions was new home construction. So right now, if you're listening to some of the news, it's like new home construction's in the tank, blah, 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 kind of this. And one of the things that he said, his podcast was on that was maybe a week or two ago. And at that time, builder stocks were up 15% over a 30-day period. So do we feel, which is typically the stock market's typically a predictor of what we can see in the future. So do we feel like do any of the people in this room feel like new home construction have their finger on the pulse of that at this time? No.
Well, if you look at that though, Tom, with Berkshire Hathaway, they've invested heavily with Buffett's money into several large home builders over the last few months.
Yeah. Well, I sure opened up with them cutting through that Creekmore. Is that 163rd Street? Is that what we're calling that? Okay. That looks like a lot of land to build on there, and I'm certain that's probably what they have planned, right? So, okay. I made it to 10:30 carrying this thing myself. Brandy, I want to hear from Brandy. Tell me something good.
Oh gosh, I don't know. I'm here. Life
The
is
Canva
good.
classes are coming up, and we all need to be participating if we want to understand how to use that tool.
Did you say AI classes, Lonnie?
Canva, didn't we just
Canva.
get a directive on the 4 different ways they're going to do that?
Yep, absolutely. So we do have Canva classes coming up, And that's going to be really cool. That's going to make our life a little bit easier when it comes to marketing and social media posts and all that good stuff. So I'm really excited about that coming out on September 4th. So not this week, but next week. Another thing we're really excited about is AI. I mean, I don't know where that, and when I say that, does that make you cringe? Does that make you want to run? I don't know, but it's here and it's not going anywhere. So the sooner we can figure it out, we can figure out what it is, what does it do, how does it help me, how are my clients already using it, and that's what we're going to do. So starting in September, which is right around the corner, every Monday in September, except for Labor Day, Caesar's teaching classes on that. So we're trying to bring some great stuff back from Mega Camp. Mega Camp is great, guys. If you've never been to Mega Camp, Mega Agent Camp, I would encourage you to save some money, build it into the budget, save back a little bit on every closing, and get to Mega Camp or Family Reunion. Family Reunion is in February, and it's going to be in Atlanta this year. Mega Agent Camp is going to be in San Antonio again next year. We have time to save, guys. It is so good. There's so much good stuff. They bring the best of the best of the best to us, and it's good stuff. So I know many of you didn't get to go this year, so we're trying to bring back what we got and share it with you guys to make sure that Raymore isn't missing out on what's going on. We want to keep our agents fresh and at the top. We want to keep leading from the front. So I think all that's good stuff, Tom.
All good stuff. What has Joanna got going on? Come on, come with the good question. You're mute.
Mute. Okay, am I muted? Can you hear me?
You're unmuted.
Okay. You want a good question?
Yeah, what do you got going on?
Well, I got the house on Appaloosa, and I think it's a little overpriced. But we do have. I told them what I thought it would sell for. You know, maybe 20,000 less, maybe a little more than that, 25. They want to try it at $499. So we do have one lady that looked at it 3 times, and when it went off the market temporarily, she called me, even though she has an agent. She called me and said, "What's going on with that house?" So I'm hoping that we can get that under contract. I have a out-of-town buyer that was looking at a house in Belton that came on the market 2 days ago, and we put in to go see the house, and our request was denied. So then we put in a request the next day to go see the house with the daughter, because the mother's still in Arkansas. The mother wants to live in the neighborhood where the daughter lives. So because the daughter has a new medical diagnosis. So it's really important for the mom to get here, and she loves this house. Well, the girl was driving by this house, and the homeowner, don't ask me why he waved her down, but he started talking to her and said that his agent had an affair. He was connected to the agent. She had an affair. And so he's canceling the listing with her. And so it's going to be off the market, and I'll find another agent. That's what he told her. So it's been a little bit of a crazy situation there. The house is temporarily withdrawn. The guy, I wanted to try to get to talk to the guys, maybe, but anyway, I left a message, but he's trying to get another agent apparently. So they're going to have a house that's contingent. So I've just had some not good luck with contingencies lately. When you have a contingency and another contingency and another, they seem to go like in a row, and then something blows up and the whole thing blows up. So I'm just trying to make it through these deals, and I don't have any questions right now. Nathan's helping me on something that we might have a buyer for the land on 151st and Mission. So, anyway, that's what's going on.
Well, that's good stuff. So,
Hey, Tom, we talked about at team meeting, and I just want to reiterate in this group, the need, I would go ahead and say the requirement, of doing estimated proceeds sheets on every offer that comes in, and best practices around that. Again, we had two situations this summer, one recently, where at the end of the day, our agent's going to be working for free. And they're working for free because they did not do a net sheet when the offer came in on the house. So we all get busy, we all get sidetracked, all those sorts of things. And it was a very honest mistake, very expensive mistake that could have even been worse. So we've got to stop, read the offer, look for things that the agents will sneak in there, whether it be warranties or additional comments that they make, that something stays. But again, we've got to really police the, seller concessions. Now that people are asking for closing costs a lot, what's that look like? Double check the commissions, all those sorts of things, warranties, personal property that's written in, all those sorts of things. Otherwise, it can be really, really painful. So what I suggested to everybody is do the net sheet based on the offer. If you have advice to them, maybe a suggested counter offer. And when you send that to them, that gives you a place to something to discuss.
So Lonnie, on that situation, did they forget to put their commission, or did they? How do you say that they didn't? They're not.
They missed the price. We were focused on price and we missed the concessions part. That's happened twice this summer, so it's not unique to any one agent. But again, we went so long where you didn't see $6,000 in closing costs tucked into these deals and things like that. And so when we just overlooked it. So we presented the offer without the seller being aware of that, and the seller agreed to the contract. So it's a massive commission debt to me. We can't ask the seller to pay it. It's a massive commission debt to me to make it right for our seller, because if our seller would have known that, they would have counteroffered.
Yeah, Joanna, they had asked for closing costs that were the exact same amount as the buyer agent commission. So on page 4, when it has all down at the bottom where it has the closing costs and all that, it kind of looked like, how if you're going too fast, it can look like, okay, here's the buyer agent commission, here's additional paid seller costs. They were the same number. So it almost looked like, okay, here's the number, here's the commission, and then here's the total. But instead it was 2 charges for the same amount, if that makes sense. Just moving too fast.
Yeah.
So
that's tough.
We've all stepped in it, we've all done stuff. So, we just got to remember to go slow. Like Lonnie said, check everything, and as far as like the estimated proceeds, the reason this person didn't do one is because she did one at the listing appointment for a certain price. Well, that's what they got on the offer. So she was thinking, we're good. It's the same numbers.
Yeah.
But, like Lonnie said, if we'll sit down and actually look over I don't like even looking at it on my phone. I like to get to a computer or even print it out. Because on the phone, it's so small. You might miss something. But
if there's ever a time to stop and go slow, it is at that time. When we're getting the facts of an offer that we're getting ready to put on paper for the seller, we need to really look and see what's going on there. Your contingencies, the other thing I was going to talk about, your contingencies that are coming in, we have to go deep on those. We have to get a copy of in fact, go ahead and just tell it when somebody calls you and you're a listing agent and says, would your seller consider a contingency? I don't even know how to answer that. Okay. There's never an auto yes or an auto no. I need a lot more information to answer your question. What is it contingent upon? When will it be going on the market? Will it be listed or for sale by owner? Have you previewed the property? Where's the property located? What are the comps around the property? All those things are fair game if somebody's going to send us a contingent offer. So I just go ahead and ask them. I go, hey, to really answer that, let me know about the property, the condition, and if you would link the comps and kind of what you're thinking for a list price. And is the house ready to go on the market? Is it one of those that we would accept and they would have 10 days to get their house ready? That's crap. All that kind of stuff. So we got to ask the questions And then sometimes they're like, would you consider a contingency? Our people's house is already under contract. In our office, we call that a firm contingency. So before you go sing a zippity doodah that's awesome. Is it contingent upon a contingent upon a contingent? How deep does that go? Okay, so we got to ask the right questions. And yes, they show you a copy of the contract, and it's sure enough, their house is under contract. That's awesome. But does that deal rely on somebody else getting their house sold? And is it under contract? You guys follow me there. We got to go all the way to the beginning of where these dominoes could start.
So on that, Lonnie, when you, yes, I hear you, because this is exactly where we were at. We wrote an offer contingent on her closing. She was already under contract. The lady that was buying her house was already under contract, but it was a contingency. And the thing is, what I don't know is how far deep can you go? I mean, do I need the agents on all three transactions all the way down? Do I need the contract all the way down? Or
yes. I mean, the answer is yes. I mean, to make informed decisions, we need to just be able to go and inspect these deals all the way back to know what the probability of success looks like. And if maybe there's 3 deals deep and they're all under contract, they're all post-inspection, post-appraisal. Hey, that looks pretty good. In all honesty, that looks pretty good. But if, the inspections haven't been done and there's just a lot of variables, but and David and I were talking about a deal a week or two ago. I don't even hesitate to go and talk to the lenders on each deal as well. Hey, I'm on the back end of this deal. You're on the very front end, so you don't know me from Adam, but this is a deal that makes 3 others work. I see your pre-approval letter here. Can you confirm for me what you've actually checked out? And sometimes they'll go, they did online approval. We haven't verified their income yet, but based on what they stated, they should have no problem. That sort of thing. Or is it, matter of fact, we've worked with these people for a while. All income, assets, and credit have been verified. I've actually done multiple loans for them. They're golden. Okay. Those are 2 different people in my world. So we got to ask the questions. And if that's snooping around a little bit, it's snooping around. Your client is insisting that you give them a high level of service. Therefore, we owe it to them to do the due diligence. We can't guarantee anything's going to close. There's people involved. But at the end of the day, we can stack the probability to have the best chance of having success. And if there is a bump in the road, you kind of see it coming. You're not totally surprised by it or caught off guard.
So on that situation, my buyer, her buyer fell through, and I have that agent's name, but I don't have the next agent that, one down from that. So I need to ask the agent that I do know, who is the other agent, right? I need to get all that information.
I think it's, I don't know how you can't get that.
Yeah.
I mean, I actually will go and I request copies of contracts and pre-approval letters till we get to the very front. We know who we're dealing with and who to call if something gets delayed. Very often it's the person buying my listing, they're fine, but it's the person buying their house that there's a problem. And I need to be engaging that lender and find out truly, is this a delay or is this a deal breaker? And sometimes they're like, it's just this, or it took longer to verify this, and this. We're just going to need 3 extra days. I apologize. That's a different conversation than, on their loan application, they stated they make this. And as it turns out, because they're commissioned, we have to use their income is now this. And then so that's a red flag. That's a deal breaker potentially versus a delay. I'm a big believer in not extending closings unless I understand that I'm not going to have the same conversation with the lender 5 days from now to what we extended it to. What is the problem? How's it going to be solved? And give me confidence that this 5-day extension will get the deal done.
Yeah. Okay. That's good.
Here's another thing that I ran into this week with contingent offers. I'm helping an agent, and there were 3 houses connected in a chain of contingencies. And they all have to close on the same day, so that, then we got to work on possession time, right? And that's always, I don't know if anybody else kind of struggles with that, but sometimes, especially if I'm at the end of this chain, like how many days do we need? And so we got to kind of co-op with these other agents at a high level to say, okay, if we all close on this day, then this person needs so much time out, then the middle guy needs this much time out. We're over here on the end. It's looking like 3 days after closing before we can take possession of our house. And so that's probably pretty normal. And, you know, educating the buyer that, okay, this is the way it is. And we're at the end of a three-tailed, you know, contingency train here. And this buyer had a lot of concerns about, well, what if, and I completely understand, what if in those 3 days that we own the house, these people tear it up, destroy it, damage it in some way, something happens? And I think that's a legit concern. And I don't know. I've never heard about it talked about it here. So I don't know if y'all know, maybe you do, that in our dot loop in KCRER, there's a form called occupancy after closing. And it spells out who's going to pay for utilities, who's going to take care of the insurance. The buyer and seller agree, you know, this buyer agrees to take good care of the house, like all that stuff. So once we got that to the buyer who was concerned, he was like, oh, okay, we're good then, you know, and kind of had everybody sign off on that. It kind of spelled out, he put his mind at ease for those 3 days, because there's just no way in a 3-line contingency he can take possession at funding or even the same day. So, you know, check into that if that's something your buyer is concerned about, or if you are building in a few extra days to strengthen your offer and they're concerned about those extra days. That the occupancy after closing form kind of spells all that out. So,
Brandy, you're describing a broker's nightmare.
I know,
But-
Darren.
Those are crazy.
So
I
my
know.
biggest deal years ago, I had a 5-way contingency. And I mean, you literally just have to look at a calendar and say, okay, the Smiths are going to close this day. They're going to move out that day. The Johnsons are going to close this day. They're going to move out that day. And they're going to move in the Smith's house on whatever day. Luckily, I remember distinctly on that one, the first buyer, the lowest buyer, lived in his parents' basement, and he was able to give us, like, he gave all the time in the world for possession after closing. And so that just kind of made the whole thing easier. But really, a lot of thought has to go into that. And you're talking to 3 or 4 other agents, and you have to make sure they know the dates. Just like I talked about Tuesday, you can get into a real nightmare the day of closing when everyone wants their money and they're not going to give out the keys, and I'm not letting them move in until I get my money. And it can be bad. It has to be negotiated as early as possible, hopefully before signatures, because buyers and sellers are a lot easier to get along with when they want that other party's signature. After that, it's hard to get them off, you know, what they want to do.
So I had a buyer that was buying a house that was $750,000 over there on Flum and Olathe. And it was occupancy after closing. The seller wanted 5 days. My buyer gave them 2 days. And so they wrote us a $1,000 check for the occupancy after closing, just to make sure everything was good. Well, when my buyer went in, the house was not clean, and it wasn't crazy dirty. It was just stuff was left behind. My buyer was very upset because he was expecting it to be really nice. It's a $750,000 home, and he cashed the check. And when the other agent said, hey, there's a package coming there from Amazon, if you could just put the check in the envelope and leave it on the porch, I'll pick it up. I told the buyer that, and he said, I cashed the check because we had to hire somebody to come and take the stuff out, and we had to fix this. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like so I told the other agent, I said, I'm sorry. I mean, my buyer cashed the check because he felt like it wasn't the way it should have been, but nothing was broken. It was just not as clean as he wanted, and there was stuff remaining. And so I don't know. I didn't know what to do except just say, I'm sorry. And she just said, oh, all right, I'll tell the seller. So tell me what I should have done in that situation. Because I don't know. I mean, was it okay that the buyer cashed that check?
Well, it sounds like it, Joanna. I mean, the whole reason you had the check was in case the people didn't perform properly. They didn't perform
Okay.
properly if they left the thing a pigsty and a bunch of stuff behind that needs to be hauled off, right?
Yeah.
If that's what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
So, and here's
Well,
the
it
thing.
wasn't a pigsty, but they're
Yeah.
very particular, and it wasn't to their standards at all. So,
Well, what
okay.
I'm preparing people now, just like, hey, my seller will clean have the house in nice presentable condition. That may not be the condition where your people are used to. So you may want to schedule a professional cleaner to be sure it's up to your standards. Because I'm not getting any more of these, you know what, matches with people of, well, technically this isn't all that clean. And you go in there, and Amber and I just did this, and we're like, other than some spiders on the floor, the place had been professionally cleaned 90 days ago. It was just fine. You know, and some leaves in the yard and things like that. So it just, you know, and our buyers, I tell our buyers the same thing. I go, hey, when we get possession, this, you know, you guys are pretty picky and like to live a certain way. Most people aren't going to give you possession of a house that's going to be quite up to your standards. So here's a connection if you want to go on and have somebody come in, you know, before you move in and really make it look nice. So just, you know, again,
Okay.
we can diffuse a lot of things by just having even some kind of conversation around it.
Okay.
It comes down to a person's definition of clean
Mhm.
and also how turbulent the contract negotiations go when it comes to repairs and stuff like that. The seller that moved out may have just thought, you know what, this is fine. I wouldn't care if someone left a house this way when I was buying it. And then you get the super clean freaks that walk in and they're already mad because the seller wouldn't fix, you know, something from the repair thing, the resolution. And so I'm with Lonnie. That's a great idea to just tell the buyers, you know, look, their definition of clean may be different than yours. I tell people that on the resolution when, you know, hey, you can ask the seller to put up this handrail. Let's say it's not an appraisal requirement, but the seller's definition of a handrail is not going to be your definition. Why don't you just let it go and you can put one up later that's fancy and looks good. Especially with land and a house that might have some barns. A lot of them old farmers are not going to take out everything out of the barns.
Mhm.
And that's just almost a given. I don't know if anyone else has experienced that, but I suspect everyone has with
Yeah.
outbuildings and stuff like that. You're going to be left, you know, some plow for a tractor that's 100 years old and some other stuff that's just out in the barn. And that's, you know, some spare wood, you know, 2x4s and stuff, old paint. You're just going to
Right.
inherit some of those things.
Mm.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think when you were talking in the team meeting, Darren, about, and you know, some of this, us just as agents of getting over there and doing our, you know, a walkthrough before we close, and sometimes even before we do the walkthrough with our client, so we can kind of, sometimes I think we can set the tone, right? Like, hey, guys, I went over here earlier. It's probably not as clean as I would like it, but it's probably as clean as it's going to get. So you guys just kind of know going in what you might need to do. So most
Well,
people, like I say, if we can avoid the surprises and kind of, and we are the ones that set the tone for kind of what it is, all the way from the beginning. And I like what Darren just said about the old barns and stuff like that. I'm finding myself as an agent, if I remember to have these conversations or make a point about having these conversations prior to the situation coming up, it's hardly ever a problem, right? So,
Just put it on the disclosure. You know, the wood and other implements in the barn will remain with the property. And then you know, you shouldn't have too much of an issue.
yeah.
Here's an example of the closing and possession incompetence. We just contracted a house in Creekmore. It was a soft contingency, but we looked at the data Again, I asked for the data. I said, when's it going on the market? At what price? She gave me the comps. I looked at it and told my sellers, I think this house will go to contract in a week or two. It's a great contingency. We're getting a great price. So we negotiated a contract contingent. We said the closing date would be whatever the date was. Possession would be 5 o'clock the following day. So it gives my people that day to move that I always insist upon. All hunky dory. So sure enough, the agent, who's an experienced agent, she goes and lists their house. They get in multiple offers on their house, which is great, right? She negotiates a deal, boom, sells their house. And guess what? Just what you guys mentioned. The deal that she had multiple people interested, and she took a contract that had closing and possession on the same day on the front end deal. So now her people, because of her stupidity, her people have to be out the day of closing on their front end deal, yet won't get possession of mine until 5 o'clock the following day. So after she executes that contract, she calls me in a panic and says, is there any way your people might be able to get possession early? And I'm like, no, that's why? Why do you ask? Well, you know, when we were in multiple offers, but I forgot to get more time. And I go, I don't know what to tell you. She goes, oh, my people are going to have to rent a truck. They're probably going to stay at a hotel. Yep, that's probably how that's going to work. Versus, do my people need to go do all those things? I don't think so. So again, sometimes we're not thinking our way through these transactions, and a lot of our problems we're bringing on ourselves. I mean, she was in multiple offers. You think she wasn't calling the ball? She could have probably said, hey, seller, something important to my seller, thanks for asking, is that closing and possession are 2 or 3 days apart. So these people know they're up in multiple offers. You think they're going to probably be okay with that? Most likely, yes. She just chose not to do that. She focused on price and price alone. And so now the whole, turd in a punch bowl was created by the agent, and her people were under stress, and they shouldn't be. They got a great house. They got a great price on their house, but now they're going to have to do the U-Haul, truck shuffle and stay at a hotel for a day and a half. And, I feel bad for them in a way, but I'm like, I don't know who else to point a finger at other than you. And you've been doing this for 15 years.
Good stuff. Good to know.
It's just, again, it's not stopping thinking things through. It's just being in the moment and being, not thinking how can I bulletproof this deal? How can I make the deal safer, cleaner, low stress? What can I do in these deals to make business go that way versus throw it against the wall and see if it sticks?
Yeah, that's good.
Good information. Great. All right, guys, we're bumping up against 11 o'clock. Thank you.
Very good.
Peace out. Go sell something.
Thanks, Tom.
Bye.
Thank you.
Good job, buddy.
Thanks, Tom.